you will see I brought a whole lot of more stuff with me from all the expeditions I did. We've got like 3 rows of circuit boards piled up in stacks of like 6 to 7 here by now. It's absolutely mad. I can barely get through the hallway. There's batteries all around and like even more wok stakes and clothes kits that I haven't used yet just because I don't have the bots, because I don't have the component kits. I even stashed soil onto the wall. Alright everybody, hello and welcome back to another episode of Scrap Mechanic with me, Spacefish, out here at the beautiful ocean. So for a quick start, I just wanted to already say apologies because I'm pretty sure that this episode is going to be late today. That is because I made quite a lot of preparations and you may already spot some of those preparations down here in my inventory. But we will get back to that later. I actually spent a lot of time getting all this stuff together, so I hope it's going to be a great episode. But, well, for a start, you can see I'm right here at the coast, at the ocean, and that's because I've actually collected a good bunch of crude oil so we can make some more fuel, because I've been using a whole lot of it with the miner. I think I really need to improve the efficiency of that engine, by the way, so I will need some more component kits, which I've also farmed a whole lot of those, because for those thrusters down here you actually need 10 component kits a piece, so those are super expensive, so I had to farm a bunch, but unfortunately not quite enough for an engine upgrade, so I did need some crude oil. Also got some glue clams along the way, but, well, I kind of left my car right there, as I usually do, right? And after literally scraping all along the ocean floor and basically farming every bit of crude oil there was to farm, I came back to this. What in the world? My car is just chilling on the water. I don't even know. I had like left my trophies on here just to proudly show you all that you know, I had killed an army of haybots, and I just came swimming back in the darkness, and I saw this shininess from all the way back here. I was like, why is there so much loot on the ocean floor? And the closer I came, the more apparent it became that this is actually my car. And apparently you can even drive it down here, which is kind of funny. I did not know that. I don't know, I'm going to try and drive it out. I mean, I guess I can just use lift, but you know, when do you ever get the chance to drive a car along the ocean floor? This is actually quite fun. I'll have to say, I do kind of like this somehow. Of course, like, getting traction down here is not apparently that easy. But it's also somehow possible, the only issue with that being, of course, that there's no way to actually give myself oxygen, so I will eventually drown if I don't drive this out of the water. But other than that, that's working perfectly fine. I wonder if there's some way that you could do, like, some sort of I mean, submarine, I think, is kind of hard, because the water just gets into the vehicle. But, you know, maybe you can make some sort of underground vehicle, well, underwater vehicle rather. This is interesting. I never knew this. But yeah, I don't know, like, I wouldn't think that if I close off all the gaps in my canopy that no water gets in anymore and I can just go along underwater. Maybe that's a mechanic they'll add eventually, you know, or, you know, oxygen feeding tanks, whatever. But for the time being, that does not work, I think, unfortunately. But that was actually quite interesting, quite fun. Pretty glad that nothing happened to my vehicle and I could just drive it out of the water and be happy with it. So let's go back to our base for a start, and I'm gonna, first things first, I think, grab all of these haybot arms and get those refined as well, because while I of course kept them to show you guys the results of my 20-year-old grind. Oh, I actually picked those up already as well. We will of course make those into scrap metal to have a bit more metal to play around with on the truck. So that's going to happen right here. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to go right here and I'm actually going to make some suspension, and you'll see what we will need that for later on. And anything else? Yeah, probably a bit of fuel would be a good idea. I don't want to use all my crude oil just yet, but we'll be making a bunch of it because honestly, I mean, we'll need a huge lot of it. I've so far mostly just been feeding off of the tank of my exploration vehicle here, and you can see it's pretty much empty now, unfortunately, because I had to refuel this thing 15 bajillion times, and I mean, while this scrap engine doesn't really use too much to power that drill, because it doesn't really have much of any power itself, the actual driving around was quite the pain. Also, made myself a bunch more tomatoes, luckily, because else I would be totally dying right here. And then, I mean, we've got this gas tank, but there's not really much of any fuel in it. So, yeah, I mean, you can see I definitely very badly need that fuel, and I will also need it for other stuff later into the episode. Before the start, what I also actually remember that I wanted to make myself since a few episodes was this welding tool. I do need 5 component kits for it. That is a bit of an issue. I really wanted to make that thing this episode. Maybe I'll just... Oh, I need 3 for the paint tool as well. Which I would like to have a paint tool by now, I think. I mean, you know, it's a bit of... I was going to say money. It costs a good bit, of course. But, you know, being able to paint things, I think, could be pretty cool. So, maybe something to tackle also. You will see I brought a whole lot of more stuff with me from all the expeditions I did. We've got like 3 rows of circuit boards piled up in stacks of like 6 to 7 here by now. It's absolutely mad. I can barely get through the hallway. There's batteries all around, and like even more wok stakes and clove kits that I haven't used yet just because I don't have the bots, because I don't have the component kits. I even stashed soil onto the wall next to my scrap seat right here. It's absolutely mad the way that this whole thing looks by now. I've really got no more space left. Like, it's really time to move sometime, isn't it? But I've got so much stuff to do. I've got so many ideas for vehicles that I kind of want to follow as well. Oh, I don't even know. There's so many things to do. But as you can see, I mean, I've got a bit more T2 metal here that we can theoretically now also use to build our vehicle a bit more, and I think we will. Now, the one thing that I'm still not quite sure about here is if I want to do something more like, well, more like that, right, where we have this be a bit of a ramp on which we can drive up with vehicles, or if I want to have it a whole single piece. I think I'm going to do something like this for the time being, so I can sort of see how far this whole thing extends downwards. And we're going to drive up a bit. Jesus. This thing is so massive, by the way. I've kind of just now really noticed how big this thing is. Like, this thing is huge. By far the biggest vehicle I've ever made. I mean, compare it to these small things out there, and it's absolutely crazy. But let's tilt this downwards. I just want to kind of see how far we can get this thing down that way. So yeah, you can see right here, I mean, we will need a bit more tilt. If we do keep this at the same angle as this, which is also an option, I guess, we would need it to be even longer, so that's why maybe it's not as much of an option. But I will just go and get this extended downwards a bit, I think. And we're just going to grab a few blocks from the inside here again, just so we can already have a bit of an indication of how far this will need to extend downwards. I think something like that should be alright. Now, I would hope that we can actually drive up on that too. I'm kind of a bit concerned about the edges being a bit of an issue of getting the actual wheels across those. But let's hope that that is going to be fine. Let me actually remove this crossbar in the middle right here. I'm going to put it out there to actually ensure that we've got this thing aligned. Yeah, okay, so that would kind of have to be how long this thing has to be. May actually look a bit weird, right? Maybe I should make this mechanism more sophisticated, with like a few more bearings, and just kind of fold it into itself, if that makes sense. Because I think right now, if we actually fold this back inwards, this is going to be super, super high. I mean, if we look at this, right, that's kind of extending higher up than the canopy of the thing. I don't like it too much. Maybe we will make it to where we can just, I don't know, have a few bearings and fold this into that and that into that, or something like have like 3 parts that fold into each other, and that just all happens on the same controller. We will need more component kits for that, but I think that's kind of the solution to go for here, because this is a bit big, in my opinion. I mean, we could have it go like all the way till up here, and then have like 1 kink in there, fold that down, and 1 kink up there, fold that down, or something like that. I feel that's going to be the plan, but not for today, because, I don't know, I think we're not really going to be doing too much work on the truck. What is this block, by the way? Confusing, to say the least. Let's put that back up there where I think it belongs and move on. Because I don't think we're going to be spending too much time today with a truck. What I'm going to be spending time with instead was an idea that I already had, like, basically ever since I started playing Scrap Mechanic together with you all. And that was that I wanted to have something that can actually fly. Which, I mean, in Scrap Mechanic actually is still an idea that is not actually working all too easily, because unfortunately, I mean, there's not much, well, not much of any would be already saying too much. There is no aerodynamics in this game yet, so you can't actually build proper planes. You do, however, have these trusty thrusters right here that you can use to, well, somewhat fly. There's a lot of glitching going on that you actually need to do, unfortunately, to get anything to really properly fly. I thought there was a bot coming at me. So like, there's actually some suspension glitches and stuff that need to get involved, because otherwise you can't steer the thing. It's just absolutely atrocious, unfortunately. But I've watched some YouTube videos myself to actually get an idea of how this kind of stuff works, and well, I kind of have an idea now of how we can hopefully do it. And well, obviously, as I said, I watched some YouTube videos, so I didn't find it out on my own, so credit goes out to Ballistic Square, which is a pretty darn big YouTuber actually, who has a video going on this that kind of explains the ins and outs of how to do a basic variant of this. And I'm gonna start out with, like, well, adapting some of the things he does, and then hopefully we can make it something even a little more cool in the future. I've kind of got an idea of where I want to bring it, but like, the initial idea is definitely well, I definitely have to give credit to him for that, and I'm gonna try and remember to link his video down below as well if I do. And well, it's certainly probably not gonna matter too much to him given his size. I think that is just fair regardless. So what we're gonna be doing basically is, well, I'm gonna have like a platform going basically, right, where we kind of start out with some initial basics. So as you can see in here, I mean, I've got 3 different suspensions, all basic sports suspensions. I'm not quite sure, I may need to upgrade one of these, because in the way that this whole suspension glitch works is basically I can use it to turn my vehicle while in flight. And it's like a common thing that many people also use to just turn cars and anything else that you may be using on the road. I knew about the suspension glitch for a while, but I really didn't like to use it that much, because I mean, you've got wheels after all, right? You can design some proper suspension with like bearings to turn the wheels and everything. You can go left to right easily without glitching your way through the game, so that's what I just kind of preferred thus far. But as there's no aerodynamics, you can't just have, like, I don't know, any rudder or something that would turn you left to right, or any ailerons that would kind of control your pitch. So unfortunately, the suspension glitching in terms of flying is actually what you do have to result to in the very end. So bit annoying right there, but unfortunately not too much that you can actually do about this. So I'm going to go and grab my seat that I made right here. As you can see, it's a different seat. It is a, well, more of a motorcycle seat, basically. It's a smaller one. From what I saw in this video, the bigger one is actually theoretically better, because these thrusters, as you can see, are 2 wide, and this thing is 3 wide, so you can't really center your mass using this seat. So ideally, recommendation would probably actually be using the bigger seat. But, well, I don't think I want to just make this thing fly in the very end, just to maybe give a bit of a hint of where I want to go with this eventually. So that's why I decided to opt for this 3 wide seat regardless, and see what we can actually do with it. So now, what we will have to basically do is not lift it at that spot. Actually, I will be forced to, which is never too great. I'm going to extend this out a bit further. We want to place the lift a bit further back so we can kind of work below this thing right here. So, Interesting. It's blocking itself. But yeah, so what we will need to do is, like, basically we need to do this suspension glitch where... Well, I'm going to show you what I mean. I don't think we can actually place a bearing on a seat, can we? So I would be probably... Well, I would actually first need to get a bearing. So that's probably a way to start. Let's grab that. And we will basically... I'm going to see if I can place a bearing. I can actually place a bearing on that. Very interesting. Didn't know. But basically what you do for the suspension glitch, which, as I said, I mean, if you want to do it, which I honestly don't, but, you know, if you feel like doing it on your regular car, you can use it to kind of do that too. And I'm going to demonstrate that in a minute. I hope it actually still works. As far as I know, it's been a long-standing thing in scrap mechanic for like 3-4 years easily. So in theory, I wouldn't think that within the last 4 months or something they patched it. But basically, we put a bearing right here, then we put a block on that, and then you put a suspension inside of this thing. Now, as I said, I'm kind of a bit worried that this thing may be a bit weak, so we'll test this out. Maybe I'll have to upgrade it with a few component kits to actually make it turn faster. But now what you do is you go to your seat, you use this thing to turn, right? And I hope that this is actually turning the right direction. But basically, you turn this bearing, you turn the block with it, and that impacts the suspension, and the suspension then kind of glitches to where the whole vehicle starts turning. That's kind of the thing, the way that this used to work, and that it hopefully still does work. And as you can see right here, it may actually not be working anymore. Oh my god. That's maybe a bit of an issue. Maybe I have done something wrong though. So, I'm not quite sure. I'll place a quick cut and I'll do some more research whether this has actually been patched or whether I'm just doing something wrong. Right, and back I am. I think I may have been doing something wrong. So what I probably forgot was to actually put a block onto this thing. Because as you saw, I mean, this was just glitching into the side walls, but if you put a block on it, I hope that should fix it. Oh my... yeah. That was an issue. Let's try that again. And as you can see, it works. It's actually pretty darn strong, I'll have to say. I don't think I really need an upgrade for that suspension, surprisingly. But, I mean, that's nice. Saves us some component kits. Now, I'm, of course, flipping quite heavily, but no! I nearly made it. I'm kind of struggling right now to see if this is actually turning me the right way. I think I need to actually invert it, don't I? Wait, so... Right? No, that's left. Okay, I think I need to invert this thing. So let's do that. So this should point me to the right, and this to the left. Yep, indeed, it does. Very nice. And we actually flipped it onto the proper side. So yeah, that's the way that this suspension glitch works. As I said, I mean, you can use it on any standard road vehicle too. I'm just kind of abstaining from it because I don't really like the practice. Because, I mean, as you can see with my other builds, you can very well make a road vehicle work just with like bearings and actual normal steering, if that makes sense. So not really a necessity of doing it this way, but for any airborne things that you do want to make, unfortunately it is actually a bit of a necessity. So now what we do have, I mean, we've got two thrusters, right? We need to of course place those somewhere. Now the one thruster that kind of goes downwards does need to be in your center of mass, and I'm not quite sure where my center of mass is going to be thus far, so that is a bit of an issue. But that's also not really kind of the only thing that we need to take care of, because as you could see right there, this thing does like to flip on its side very easily. And that's another suspension glitch I got shown in that video of Ballistic Squid that I didn't actually know just yet. I knew this turning one, but there is actually a different one where you can basically do something very much like this, and then something very much like that. And then you kind of have to weld the things up, which I don't have a welder right now, so we'll need to take care of that. But basically, this thing, when welded, is supposed to not be falling over. Now, I actually did a bit of a whoopsie right there, because I didn't place this whole thing on a lift, so I can basically scratch that and restart, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to work for me just now with the thing's not welded together, so we will have to take care of that in a second. But other than that, this should hopefully work to where you can hit it with a hammer and will basically not turn. And then if you pick this thing up and weld it to that, which, you know, through that video I also finally found out what you need welding for. It's just designing something outside the main vehicle and then just putting it on there, basically, right? But yeah, so if I then put that thing on there, it's also not gonna just tilt over by me doing that suspension glitch thing. And as you can see, I mean, right now, it is very much still tiltable, so I will need to go and grab myself a welder, which means that I will need to go and grab myself some more component kits. I'm gonna put a quick cut. I'm going to go and work on finding a few more component kits for the course, and I'll be right back. Alright everyone, and welcome back. As you can see, I've been a busy man, yet again, picking apart haybots left and right, but I did manage to find us a good bunch of component kits, so I do hope that is going to be enough. For a start, I'm just going to quickly, as always, go and grab all of these haybot arms to get some more scrap metal out of this stuff. At the moment we've got 158, so that's actually a good bit of reserves right there for us in terms of actual metal to work with. Also, what I found is I still have this horn that I was looking to use for my truck, so I probably should actually try and make some use of that. But as we are now finishing all the fuel stuff right here, I'm just gonna go and finally make us a welder, which is actually a bit of an issue because I don't have the amount of tier 2 metal necessary, but we can quickly rectify that. I'll place another quick cut and I'll be back once that's done. Alright, and welcome back everyone. As you can see down here, I've actually managed to even make myself a paint tool now because I did find enough component kits, and the welder is just now in the making and should be done any second now too. And then we've finally got a full tool load out as well, which I think is very nice, very awesome. I'm very much looking forward to actually using this welder a bit and maybe even painting some things. Now, I don't think I'm ever going to paint this guy right here because honestly, I don't know, something just tickled my fancy about the bare bones metal looks of some of these vehicles. Not quite sure for the truck. We'll see eventually, but you know, maybe we can start with actually painting this thing sometime, because I'm sure I don't want to have it look like wood forever. So let's see about that, but for the time being we are gonna try and weld this stuff together if I can manage to. I've got no clue how it works though. I'll need to find out how this welder works. Oh, glorious. New tool and I've got no clue what to do with it. I'll just try and find... Oh, wait. Okay. That was an interesting start. Now, the only thing that doesn't seem to be willing to weld are these parts right here. I'm not quite sure if those are not the most essential ones. Let's try that. Yeah, for the time being, that definitely is still slappable. Okay, interesting. I'll see if I need to change something in order to be able to weld the stuff together. I'll be right back. Alright everyone, and back we are. I've just decided to kind of try and do this thing again, because from what I've seen, my assembly hasn't looked too wrong, but maybe it was just the sequence in which I assembled it. So I'm going to try and mirror the way that it was done in the video to try and see if we can actually get this going properly. So let's try that now. Let's try. This doesn't weld. It doesn't want to weld. I don't like it. It feels like there's something wrong with this right now. Why this doesn't want to weld together, I don't know. It feels like this part may have actually been patched. Maybe not. I am unsure. I'm confused. We'll leave this be for the time being, and I'm going to get back to it, and I'm going to see if this is still possible. If you know if this glitch is still a possibility in order to keep things in the right orientation, please let me know down below. I'll very much appreciate it. And we're just going to go and head over to this thing here real quick and just kind of going to progress a bit more on that. Now, we've got our 2 thrusters right here, and I would actually kind of like to try this without a fuel tank for the time being. Just because I feel the fuel tank would actually add a lot of weight to this, quite significantly so, and I don't want to totally overdo it. Now, I've kind of got to wonder how to actually assemble this properly. Now, we do of course need a thruster that kind of thrusts us forwards, and I think we'll put that right there. Right? Is that the idea? I mean, I can put some fuel into it, so that's great. I kind of feel like we need to level these to get some more efficiency and thrust out of these too, and that's going to be a huge load of component kits again. For the time being, can we... Yeah, maybe no. I mean, that's kind of not the spot though. You want to lift it in. Unfortunately, it always lifts at the center of these parts, so I'll just kind of need to extend this outwards again, I think, so we can hopefully put the lift a bit further back, and then put a thruster at the very bottom. This needs to be kind of centered, and I think balancing this will probably be a bit of a struggle, especially since we're like off the center of mass with this different seat and everything. So kind of gotta probably tinker around with that for a bit, but this will be like the basic setup, right? This will be the very basics, except for of course this part of the thing missing at the moment. But other than that, you know, this should be the way that we want this to be. Now, what's also a bit of an issue is that it doesn't stand up on its own, which in the future, with my idea of what I want this thing to be, is probably going to solve itself. But for the time being, I think I'm just going to give it like feet, basically, so we can have it stand up a little easier. And you know, in theory, it's now ready for use. Practically, if we want to use it this way, I'm pretty sure the answer is probably no for every sane person out there, but you know me, I'm not always all too sane in the ways that I act. So, anybody else want to try this thing out? I kind of do. We're going to flip all over the place. I don't even know how to steer it. Whoa. Both of these trust when I hit W. Okay, so that's already an issue. Can I alter that? It doesn't seem like I can change anything about the way that I use them. I mean, I can turn it, but as you can see, I mean, both of these do thrust up when I hit one button. So that's a bit of an issue. Not quite sure how to set these up so that when I hit one button, I fly up, and when I hit the other button... Very interesting stuff. I think we're probably not quite ready for our maiden flight yet, then. I would really like to try, though. I don't even know if you've got enough power. Let me just try and see if we can even lift off the ground at the moment. Yeah, I think that's a no. Okay, so... despite me keeping this rather light, I would say, for the time being, we definitely don't have the power to lift off the ground just yet. And I also need to figure out this thing, because otherwise I would probably be flipping all over the place and murdering myself by crashing into something. So I think there's a good bunch of things still to figure out, and I will try and figure those out until next episode. I'll also try and grab a good bunch of component kits from somewhere, because... well, as you saw right there, we don't really have enough thrust, so I probably want to even try and max these things out, which is gonna be quite a lot of a job. I'm thinking this must be like in excess of 50 component kits easily to max it out, so let's see. Hopefully it's not quite as much, well, per thruster. So, would be a lot of work, but I would really like to get that going, so I'm going to try and get as much components, rather as many component kits together until next episode as I can, and well, we're also going to try and get some metal so we can work further on this, and hopefully I'm going to find some solution for this. As I said, if any of you know, please let me know down below in the comments. I would very much appreciate that. For the moment, I don't think it's quite complete the way that it is, because as you can see right here, this block is definitely separate from the rest, and we need to make sure it's not. So I'll have to kind of find out how I can make sure that it is not. I mean, I'm guessing. Is this block also not? Yeah, so these are all kind of joined together, but these two blocks are separate. Now, what happens if I just extend this upwards without welding things? Does that work? Because, I mean, this I can definitely not weld, but now... It kind of looks like it's sort of working. As you can see right there, it's not really tilting, but it's not perfectly working. I think it does need to be welded to be working perfectly. So, I don't know. We need to find some way of actually joining these parts up. If you know how to or what I did wrong, please let me know down below. We're going to try and figure this out even more in the next episode, hopefully. Get a first flying something out of this and have some fun and maybe do some more exploration with this, because I would really like to fly this thing all over the place and just see what the world looks like from above. So, very much looking forward to that. For today, I'm going to end it off right here, as this episode is probably long overdue by the time you'll see it. But I hope you very much enjoyed it regardless. If you did, please make sure to hit that like button down below. That does always help the channel out a ton. And if you haven't done so already, please make sure to hit that subscribe button right down below, as well as that bell icon right next to it to stay up to date on all the future upcoming episodes. And with all that out of the way, as always, thanks a lot for watching, everyone, and I hope I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao.